over the bar and just have a beer. So then this flatbed truck comes back, absolutely loaded to the max with bales of hay. And they set all these bales of hay out there for people to sit on. Well, perfect. That's great. That's great. People aren't going to get hurt sitting on bales of hay, right? But the governor is supposed to come to this thing, and the 76. Who was the governor? Tony Anaya. Who was the governor back then? But anyway, there were prominent state senators that were going to be there, and it was kind of supposedly a kind of a big thing. It was a bicentennial celebration. I was a hippie dude who had no idea what he'd gotten himself into. And I did my best. I honestly did my best. Thursday night came and went, and it was just a disaster. I could not get these people in their costumes and back out there for the next scene. It was really difficult to coordinate all this. And I'm sitting there going, why aren't the directors trying to help me with this? Why? I don't see them actually doing much here. They're the ones that can speak Spanish. And why aren't they at least translating for me or doing something? And I would run to the church, and because the cavalry wasn't there, and the cavalry was supposed to be there. So I'd run to the church and find out what's keeping the cavalry. And there's the cavalry just standing there. And I'm going, come on, come on, come on. You're supposed to be out there. So that was Thursday night, and it was like, oh my God, I would go home every night and I'd get myself so shit-faced stoned. I could not, and I'd sit in my little cardboard box in the basement going, what in the world is this about? Unbelievably weird. So I gave it up. I said, well, Friday night will come and go, and whatever happens, happens. I've done the best I can. I hope they pay me. Sure enough, opening night comes along, and there's Epi Baca, and he's wearing a suit. And he gets up on stage and he introduces the thing. I haven't seen him all week. That's the only time I ever met him. And so he gets up on stage and he starts giving a little speech about how much work these people have done and how wonderful they've been and how fabulous this is going to be and everything. And I'm going, oh God, I'm standing behind this tree with a flashlight. And then Epi Baca says, and I would like to introduce to you now, and he's got a microphone up there, right? Somebody set up a little PA system, and he said, I'd like to introduce to you now the whatever he called her, the Tome, Madre de Tome. And I turned around, and here's this old lady standing behind me, and if I'm a day old, she's 98, okay? And no firecrackers, but there she is, and she's standing right behind me. And he beckons for her to come up on stage, and she said, she's going to sing you a little song. So I'm going, well, this isn't part of anything we rehearsed. Nobody told me about this, and I'm going, well, whatever. So I helped this old woman up the steps and onto the stage, and it took her 15 minutes just to get over to the microphone. And she starts singing. And completely a cappella, okay? Completely a cappella. There's no music, there's nobody accompanying her, nothing. She's just standing there. And she starts singing. I'm making this up. That's the only Spanish I know. I forgot my notebook. I like meatballs best. Okay, but she goes, and it went on and on and on, almost monotone. It went on and on and on. And everybody, all these dignitaries and all these people are sitting on hay bales out there listening to this, and it's like, oh my God. She went on for 20 minutes with this song. It repeated itself. It just kept going and going and going. Unbelievable. I thought somebody surely has a hook that they're going to bring out and haul her off the stage with, because this can't go on. We've got a disaster coming up here that we have to get on with. Please, I got to start waving my flashlight real soon here. Finally, she ended the song, and she kind of almost was falling asleep, and she started. People were applauding. I figured she was done, so I went up there and I helped her off the stage. So here's this 98-year-old antique being helped off the stage by this stoned hippie dude with a flashlight. and so finally that's over, and Aunt Baca introduced the show, and the show was supposed to start. So okay, the Indians are supposed to come out and with their little baskets and stuff and be Indians, being peaceful Indians doing Indian stuff. And so I waved my flashlight. Everybody's just sitting out there quiet. The old lady, meantime, she makes her way back to her front porch, starts lighting firecrackers. This is the night of the pageant. Okay, so she's back on her front porch throwing firecrackers out into her front yard. Well, granted, it took her 45 minutes to get back to her front porch, but finally, bang, she started, the show had already started, and sure enough, here come these firecrackers again. And I really didn't understand quite the point of that, what that was all about. I guess she just liked throwing firecrackers out in her yard. So I waved the flashlight to start this thing. The whatever lights we had went down, and it was, I don't think it was even dark yet, but nothing happened. Where are the Indians? Where are the Indians? Get the Indians out here. So, no Indians. So they're supposed to be watching for the flashlight. Where are they? So I ran over to the church. And I ran in the door, and here's all these little Indians standing there. And I'm going, come on, it's time to start. Pronto, pronto, ándale. I don't know what to say in Spanish. Get out there. And so I turned my flashlight on. I'm like waving this flashlight around right in front of them. Finally, I got them to come out, and they followed me out there, and they did their little Indian scene. It wasn't much. What do you expect? Townsfolk in a little town like that have never seen a stage before, much less been on one, to do. So there wasn't really much for them to do. The little Indians came up, and I think there was some kind of powwow or a dance or some kind of silly thing, and they had baskets and little pottery and stuff that they were fooling with. And then, of course, the conquistadors were supposed to show up and start bothering them. And that was like the next scene. So once the Indian scene was over, there was some dialogue, but it was all in Spanish. And so then the conquistadors were supposed to come out. And I waved the flashlights. Time for conquistadors. Let's go. No conquistadors. And I'm going, what in the world is... And now I had to run back to the church to get the conquistadors out there. And it's like the whole crowd is sitting on these bales of hay watching me running back and forth from behind this tree to the church. And the show comes to complete halt each time. All of a sudden the Indians are just standing there on stage waiting for the conquistadors to get there. And the conquistadors come out with their swords and push the Indians off the stage. And that was the next scene started, right? Now you got Oñate on his horse or whatever. Thank God there weren't any horses. But all of a sudden, right in the middle of this thing, the guy in the tractor shows up and starts driving around the plaza on his tractor, trying to see what was going on. So that's how the whole night went. That's how the whole night went. And after the thing was over, thank God that was over. It was just the one night, and we went through the whole week to get there. And finally. I don't even know what the last scene was. The last scene was, I think, Indians and Spanish people and cavalry shaking hands with each other or something silly. Whatever it was. And it was finally over, and people got up and probably thankful that it was over and got up and started to mill about and go home. And I just sat down and I almost started crying because I had just spent 5 days going crazy. It was it had to be truly one of the strangest theater experiences of my entire life. You had to be there. Obviously, you had to be there to see all this. But I'm sitting on the stage, and these young fellows came up, not much younger than me, but younger than me. They came up to me on the stage, and I said, wow, that was something, wasn't it? And they looked at me like, no English. And I'm going, oh God, okay, these guys are going to try to be friendly with me or whatever, but I can't talk to them. And they had an ice chest, and they opened it up, and it was filled with beer. And albeit it was probably Budweiser, I don't remember, it wasn't very good beer, but it was beer. And they offered me a beer, and because they realized that this guy has just gone through a hellish week, not knowing what the hell he was doing, not knowing what the hell anybody else was doing. So I had a beer with these fellas that we couldn't talk to each other, but they gave me a beer, and it just made everything better. And that's the end of that story, sorta. The Legend of Old Tome. Oh, did you turn it off already?
No. Did you get paid?
They paid me. In fact, they gave me an extra $25 for my effort. They were impressed with my effort.
They were.
I think they felt sorry for me. They should have. How is it? What are you going to use that for?